Picture this, two guys trapped in the South Charleston Public Library. One guy loves movies, the other, well, he'd rather be watching reality TV. Can they survive each other's films? Find out on Real Opposites, a library podcast about movies, hosted by Josh and Aaron from the South Charleston Public Library.
Hey guys, and welcome back to The Real Opposites. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
And we're back to discuss the movies we chose last time. I chose Mars Attacks.
And I chose Starship Troopers.
Chose these because we're doing the space theme to match our youth theme for the summer reading this year. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and jump straight into Mars Attacks.
Mars Attacks.
That's right. So when we decided on a space theme, I was looking through movies, and I love space. Like, I don't know, ever since I was young, I've enjoyed learning about space. I realized I have seen like 3 space movies in my life. I don't know why, probably because I don't watch movies, but Mars Attacks just stuck out to me. I remember enjoying it when I was younger. I hadn't seen it in many years, but I just thought it would be a fun one for us to do. That's why I chose it. Not really anything big. It. Just it was that or 2 other movies.
What were your other 2 space movies?
Galaxy Quest, which I've seen some of. I think I've seen the whole thing. I don't 100% know. And Armageddon.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
For not choosing Armageddon.
I thought about it.
Ugh.
I know. That's why I thought about it.
I hate that movie.
You know,
don't want to
Galaxy Quest would have been good too, especially with actually I think that one's a fun one.
What?
Galaxy Quest.
Oh, Galaxy Quest is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so good.
But once I thought of Mars Attacks, I was like, that's the movie I want to watch.
Well, it's the one you had seen all the way through probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, did you see Armageddon?
Yeah, I've seen Armageddon. I enjoyed Armageddon back in the day. I probably own it. So
Mars Attacks.
Yeah. So Mars Attacks. You'd already seen it.
Yeah, I saw it when it came out in theaters in 96. The Immortal Summer of 1996.
I was 3. I'd just like to date this.
We'd rather you not, actually.
I was 13.
I was somewhere in between.
Like the summer of 96 was like, that was one of the best. Had like Independence Day, Twister, Mission Impossible, The Rock, Mars Attacks. It was a really, really great summer.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Mars Attacks in theaters, like probably opening weekend, and really enjoying it.
Now, back then, did you go to, this is a little off subject, but it's about movies. Did you go to theaters, like indoor theaters? Did you ever go to drive-ins?
Yeah, I went to drive-ins a few times. Mm-hmm. There was one, I don't forget where it was around here, but I think it closed in like 94 or 95.
St. Albans area.
The last thing I saw was a double feature of Jurassic Park and Mrs. Doubtfire, so it was at least 1994.
That is a great double feature.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I think I went to a few before that, but that's the last time I remember going to a drive-in. There's one in Pittsburgh. I'd love to go. Is it Pittsburgh? It's in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I think it's in northern Pennsylvania. It's a little ways away. It's called the Mahoning Drive-In, and they do like they'll show films on 35 millimeter. They'll do like
that's neat.
Film festivals and like VHS festivals.
Wow.
And they'll get like people who are in the movie to come. They'll do signings. It's really cool. I'd love to go there.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. We used to go all the time as a kid, and I absolutely love a drive-in. That was my dream for the longest time, was to open a drive-in.
And
I feel like people would do it again.
Yeah.
That nostalgia is still there for it.
The few that are still open seem to be doing pretty good.
Yeah. Too bad 84 bought that one in St. Albans. That's the one I used to go to.
That's probably the one that I saw Mrs. Doubtfire and Jurassic Park at.
They used to do double features. I can't remember the other movie, but that is where I saw Independence Day. Was at a drive-in, and it was really nice as a drive-in movie, and that's why I was asking, because Mars Attacks seems like a movie that would be awesome.
That would be a good drive-in movie, because it has definitely like a retro 50s vibe. Yeah. So I liked it when it came out, and I've watched it several times over the almost 30 years.
Yeah, that's true.
Before we move on, I have a semi-related drive-in story to Mars Attacks. where when I was in high school, it was the early days of like Garmin GPS. Talking about like the car, like
Did you just say when you're in elementary?
high school.
Oh, sure. Okay.
That was the easy early days, like Garmin GPS. We ran with my one friend who had a GPS in their car, and we put in the address for our local drive-in. Well, we get driving, and we're like, this doesn't seem right, but maybe it's like way outside of things because it would need to be dark or whatever.
Yeah.
So we're driving, and when we turn down this road, and the Garmin's like, your destination is 100 feet ahead, and we come out of these trees, and there is this like weird building with all of these green lights pointed up at it, and we're like, this is not the drive-in.
Well, that's weird.
And it's
You're
like
a chainsaw rev.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of nowhere, but this is like a government, like big columns, like government-looking building, and we were like, we should turn around.
So did you find the drive-in?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but not there.
I was gonna say maybe that's where it used to be or something, but
Yeah.
It was
you found
weird.
That
It
is
was like, because it was like, there
So
was.
now it's like thinking like there's some government agency that's like, we'll just
Secret in
hide
the
the
woods.
GPS under this. Nobody
Yeah.
looks for drive-ins anymore.
Yeah, we were like 15.
Meanwhile, they have they probably have like an alien in there that's
We were like 15. That
Little
was
X-Files
exactly my
vibe.
point about why this is kind of related. We were like 15 miles outside of like the nearest little town, and we're like, this is not. Like, what's out here? Why is this giant building here? Why are the lights green?
some Stranger Things type
Some stranger
stuff.
things. So we like really quick popped a Yui and got out of there because we had ourselves well and truly freaked out.
Yeah, I
But
bet.
it was fun. Anyway, so I guess we should have gone in, saw if we could see some aliens.
There you
but-
go. I'm sure you could have just like walked into this government facility. By the way,
Edgar's.
I don't know that it was a government facility. I know it was a big building with green lights.
So I liked it then. I still like
Right.
it now. Maybe even a little bit more now. This last time I watched it, I really enjoyed it. I think it's funny that this came out same summer as Independence Day.
right.
I think this came out first, and it probably cost about the same as Independence Day, if not more.
Right.
Has a larger, assortment of movie stars.
Yeah.
Because Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Pierce Brosnan, Danny DeVito, Martin Short, Natalie Portman, Jim Brown, like Pam
Jack
Grier,
Black.
Jack Black. I mean,
That's one thing. So when I was watching it this time, it's probably been. I mean, I probably was a kid the last time I saw it completely through, but I've seen bits and pieces here, and I could remember some of it. But the opening scene, which by the way is the right way an opening scene should be done. So if you've ever wondered what opening scene works for Aaron, it was this. The names were just flying by real quick. The whole scene was laying out what was going on. It was perfect. But I was taken aback by how many stars were in it. I never realized that.
yeah.
I mean, it was just like name after name after name
Well,
that even I realized or
it's-
recognized. I mean,
It's honestly, that part of it is, I think, to the film's detriment to a certain degree, because it's supposed to be like a parody of 50s
Right.
movies, which there's no 50s like UFO alien invasion like goofy movie that had
Right.
this amount of like star power or money. So it's kind of funny to like see a parody of a movie of a genre. This like with this, I mean, for the
it
time,
has like a bigger budget.
and for
bigger
this time,
cast.
like Ed Wood could have made 80 movies for what this
Right.
because Tim Burton made Ed Wood in '94. I don't know if you know who Ed Wood was. He was typically he was labeled the worst director in film history.
Oh wow.
And he made this movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is generally regarded as the worst movie ever made. And it's an alien invasion movie, and there's so he befriended Bela Lugosi, and it's Bela Lugosi's last film. Bela Lugosi died after only having shot a couple scenes.
Oh.
So for most of the movie, they hired some other guy who he looks nothing like Bela Lugosi, and he just has like his cloak up covering his face,
Oh, that's
except for his
funny.
eyes. And there's zombies. I don't know. It's fun
Did
to
you
watch.
say it's a space invasion movie with zombies?
With zombies, yeah.
Nice.
If you've never seen Ed Wood, I'll probably pick that at some point. It's such a fun. You'll like it because it's really funny. It's very quirky.
And this is from the worst director ever?
No, this is the movie Tim Burton made before
okay.
Mars Attacks about him. It's got Johnny Depp and Martin Landau, Patricia Arquette, and Sarah Jessica Parker.
Oh, okay.
And Bill Murray too.
That sounds pretty good.
So I mean, he made that, and then he's like, I'm gonna see if I can actually make an alien invasion movie. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of funny stuff. Like one of my favorites is Rod Steiger as the general or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he's like, we need to nuke him. Or, he's always just like very aggressive.
Yes.
And they're like, oh, we should take a, wait and see approach and all this.
Right.
Which, because I don't know, I just think it's really funny turn on like how, because normally it'd be like, oh, let's nuke them. But, now it's like 90s and it's like, no, we need to be peaceful. And,
yeah.
Until it's like, should have listened to me,
I like that their reasoning behind waiting was always, but they're very technologically advanced, so they're probably nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually how it works.
I almost kind of wish it had been lower budget. Like not as, because for the time, like the special effects were pretty.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Like ahead, they looked really cool. And they still look pretty cool. All of the designs, like the designs are exactly like the Topps trading cards. They look great. And I love the it's always really funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's aged really well. And I think as far as parodies go, it really, for the most part, hits the nail on the head. I just think it would have been kind of cool for maybe, because I think it confused people. Like because it wasn't like a big hit.
Right.
So I think people see like, oh, Jack Nicholson and all these people in the movie, and they're like, oh, what is this? Is this an alien invasion, or is it a comedy and parody? Or so I think, and then Independence Day, it was just like not the best time. If this had come out
well received,
in the fall or the previous or next year, I think it would have done better, been better remembered. But I think it's generally it's had a good shelf life. People still really like it and enjoy it. And you mentioned like the opening scene. I love the actual opening scene. That's like not the credits, but like the cows.
Oh
on
yeah,
fire. That's like a great way to open a movie. And I just love
it. Jumps right into it.
It does. It's just like
here's some cows
on fire. And I mean, like Jack Nicholson's my favorite actor, so I love seeing him.
Yeah.
And just anything is always like a treat. And he just plays it up so much.
Well, I thought it was funny because I was reading on here, it says he only took the job because he had worked with Tim Burton on Batman.
Yeah.
And he just wanted to work with Tim Burton again. He hadn't even read the script.
He didn't read the script.
So I'm picturing him going in and being like, what?
Then he's going to be, I'm going to play two parts too.
Yeah.
Because he plays the casino owner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love Jack, seeing him, and there's a lot of funny stuff.
Yeah, there's so many funny scenes, and when I watched it back, I was so happy with my pick. I was like, I did good this time, just because it does hold up as far as the funny parts, and I mean, there's nothing that is outdated. They did it in a way that it's not really like the jokes aren't outdated or anything like that. Like they are still funny.
I mean, I think because they're mostly parodying like a 50s genre.
Right.
It just happens to be set in the 90s.
Yeah.
Which I think it would have been cool if he had been, which I don't know why he didn't. And if like with that budget, he could have made the movie set in the 50s.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like that it's set in the 90s, but it's supposed to be like the 50s.
Yeah.
I feel like it gives it a different...
Yeah, it does, because
comedic edge as well.
It's like, oh, they actually look like saucers.
Yeah.
I think from Beetlejuice to Sleepy Hollow, he had a really great run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a bad movie in there.
Yeah.
It's like Batman, Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, Ed Wood, Sleepy Hollow. I feel like there's one in between.
I think out of those, the only one I haven't seen is Ed Wood. I've seen parts of Sleepy Hollow. I haven't seen the whole thing.
It's really good.
But I mean,
they like he really, in those movies and in this, like he had a pretty good getting his what he wanted up on screen.
Mm-hmm.
After Sleepy Hollow, he ended up doing the Planet of the Apes remake, and it kind of all went downhill.
Oh.
He did Big Fish, which was okay. It's not as I don't think it's as good as like his more. It's him like trying to not be like, it's still a fantasy movie, but it's like more supposed to be more like character driven, like more of a character study. But then he did the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Alice in Wonderland and
which I didn't think was horrible.
The Alice in Wonderland.
I mean, any of them.
No,
but
Big Eyes is really good. That was like
I haven't seen that one.
with Amy Adams and Christoph Waltz about I forget the artist's name that drew the big eyes in the 60s, the paintings. That's a really great movie.
I haven't seen
That was like, oh, Tim Burton's back. And then he
Yeah.
went and made some other remake thing.
I don't know. His Sweeney Todd is really good.
Yeah.
I liked Sweeney Todd
Sweeney
a
Todd
lot.
is really good. Early this year, Stranger Things, when Vecna was introduced, he is the daughter's love interest in Sweeney Todd, the one that sings Joanna.
Oh, you're saying that actor
The
is.
actor is,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And I was like, oh, I know him.
That might be why
I
he
don't
looked
think
familiar.
he's ever been in really much else. And, it's got, Grind Up came out of and was like, I don't know why Tim Burton keeps having me murder his wife.
He does.
But he does. And his animated films are good too. Like I really love.
Oh yeah, Frank and Weenie and Vincent
Bride.
are really great. He made those like back at Disney because that's how he started as an animator at Disney.
Well, I guess he
okay.
made a live Frank and Weenie.
They did
and
they did a stop motion one, like a feature length one, like in 2011 or 12, something like that, about 10 years ago. It was pretty good. I think Johnny Depp voiced it as well.
I guess he did a 30-minute episode of TV with Frank and Weenie in 1984.
Yeah,
as well, which is kind of cute.
that one and Vincent are really great. They're stop motion, and they definitely they're definitely Tim Burton. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this again.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere where they said, this was definitely a Tim Burton movie where he didn't hold back, like you were saying. The cards, top
The
cards,
trading cards.
Tops.
yeah,
the
tops
trading
cards.
cards,
That's
yeah.
what I'm trying to say. Like he really played off of those, and
Yeah, because it's based. That's what it's
right,
Yeah.
and
like a movie based on it.
like he didn't hold back, and and something I was reading was saying, that
Yeah,
he did great with that
Yeah, he
because
just
he did match it.
yeah, he
and
just leaned into the absurdity.
what it is, yeah,
And just a full on parody of
yeah.
that genre.
Which I think it totally works.
Yeah.
You still see, they're parodying those type of movies in the 50s, and I think the way people think, just like I said, just with we'll hold back because they must be nice because they're smart, and it just little things like that.
Yeah, and he reverses a lot of like the roles too.
Right.
I like that. And I like the stuff with like their daughter Natalie Portman is the one smart one.
Right.
It's not like being overly aggressive or like she just has a good head on her shoulders and everyone's ignoring her.
Yeah. Yeah. She's the one nobody's listening to at all.
And I love how they take down the aliens as well.
Yeah.
The
music,
the country,
whatever it was.
whatever it is.
Just makes their heads explode.
It's really terrific. That's I love that they just leaned into it and like they just gave him $50 or $60 million to make this movie. It's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of great iconography as well. Like the look of the Martians, the spaceships, the Lisa Marie, like the alien that is disguised and tries to get in.
Human woman.
Yeah, who she was in Ed Wood, and I think her and Tim Burton were together for a little bit during this time. I think she's also in Sleepy Hollow. I'm pretty sure they were because she was in 3 movies. I don't know. There's a lot of great imagery, and it really, for not being like kind of a dark fairy tale, which is mostly what he had done at this point, aside from Ed Wood, I think he really captures it pretty well.
Yeah.
And I love that like stuff like the dove.
That's what I was going to say. That first scene when they're meeting,
Yeah,
and
it's going really well.
They're supposedly translating the language, and it's just it's stuck on repeat that we come in peace, we come in peace, we come in peace. So they're like, we come in peace, and release the dove, and they just pull out their gun and like
It's a lot of fun.
that was it. Just is hilarious, and it's a great start to okay, now it's war basically.
Yeah,
Except they decide maybe they're still nice. Let me host a town hall with tons of people, and of course they all get.
It's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all get mowed down by the lasers. But there was something else I was going to mention.
I love the design of how they get killed. People get killed too. It's like this really cartoony. Like the movie almost is like it's half animated, because of the.
Yeah,
half of it is kind of with the Martians.
And that's, like I said, I hadn't seen it in forever, but parts of it still stuck out to me. So I remembered the alien disguised as a human woman, And all I could remember was something about a fish tank. And that scene is so hilarious. They're looking at each other through the fish tank. You're seeing it's like a magical moment for a second. And then she just bites his finger off and feeds the fish with it by spitting it in there.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Have you seen the Romeo and Juliet from, I think it's 2000? There's also a scene where they see each other through it's Leonardo DiCaprio.
96.
Oh,
yeah, 96. Okay. So like
Same summer.
the same summer where they see each other through a fish
That's
tank.
like in the I haven't even seen that movie all the way through, but I remember that shot from the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know what I saw that trailer in front of like every movie that summer.
Yeah.
And from Romeo and Juliet. Where
Yeah, from Romeo and Juliet.
It's really that's like, I don't know. So when I saw it in Mars Attacks, I was like, what's happening? Like, I was like, is this a reference? But no, they came out the same year.
Yeah.
But it's their like love at first sight scene where they like meet eyes through a fish tank and they come out the other side of it.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not sure how that happened in two different movies the same year without like.
Yeah, it's probably just coincidence. But
Yeah.
like it's funny.
No, I mean like it's because it's used kind of in the same way.
Right.
Like, they have
Yeah,
this like romantic, but then like the outcome's totally different. That's it. I actually really love that. Like Romeo and Juliet. They use the line straight from the Shakespeare, but they're
Yeah.
like in a modern city with guns and stuff. It's
I feel like I might have been
interesting.
forced to watch that and I went to sleep.
you
In
probably
school.
maybe might have
couldn't-
watched it in school.
I
potentially.
tried a few years ago to watch it, and
just
I
like it.
couldn't. Baz Luhrmann just went way over the top with the editing, and I couldn't. It was like
That's
Gatsby. Like,
true.
I still need to finish Gatsby. I walked out of that movie.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
gonna
Wow.
I read the book again recently,
Mm-hmm.
or for the first time, and I really enjoyed the book. So I'm gonna try to watch it again. But yeah, I couldn't do I'll try it again at some point. I just couldn't. The combination of the editing and.
Well, good thing I didn't pick either one of those, and I
Glad
picked
you
Mars
didn't.
Attacks.
So anyway, one of my favorite parts of Mars Attacks is the cheesy ending where Jim Brown, who you thought was dead, comes back, and
That's what I was going to talk about.
I love that. 'cause
What
it's
I
so
love is
funny.
it starts off because his family and the kids
Yeah.
are in the house cleaning up, and the mom is like, "Go clean up," and they're cleaning up an alien, and they just kick it. And then the camera pans out to a wide shot of their apartment building has no side.
It's just like cut in half.
It's just like cut in half, but everybody is going on about their normal life in this cut in half apartment building because
Yeah.
it's all they can afford or whatever at that point. But but like the mom's like dusting a pillow. Like you don't even have a wall.
I like how it
And then
looks
he
like,
walks up.
it almost looks like a comic book page or something, like different panels. On
Yeah. I
But
love
yeah, it's
that.
really-
I love that shot like that.
I love like like he really captured the kind of 4-color kind of style of a comic book in the movie. Like it's very bold and bright.
Yeah.
Vivid color palette. Like there's no like kind of modern sensibilities really. It's just very like if they had this money and this technology in the 50s, this is what it would have looked like.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene I absolutely loved it. And then he comes back.
Yeah. I just love it because that's
Because the last time you see him, he's being huddled
You think he's
around and
dead.
beaten up by
Yeah.
aliens.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, like for the most part, like for being like 27 years old, the and for not being like a really like a grounded movie at all, the special effects still hold up pretty well.
I thought so too.
There's some really, I mean, it's clearly like some of it I think is almost on purpose, like where
Yeah.
they're making them look a little funky. But
Yeah.
and I love I forgot about it. It's like about 2/3 of the way through, I think, or maybe towards the end, and they cut to like stock footage of destruction. You can tell because it's like super grainy, and then it ends up being Godzilla, and they're watching Godzilla. Somebody's watching Godzilla, I forget who. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was just really funny. It made me laugh because I was like, oh, they're using stock footage, and then it was like, no, it's just Godzilla.
I also love the part, and I had totally forgot about it, where the like interview lady is
Sarah
abducted,
Jessica.
and they switch
They-
her
their
head with the dog.
Yeah. Pierce
So like
Brosnan.
it's her body and the head. I mean, her body and the dog's head, and then her head on the dog's body
Yeah.
at first. And she's just like talking to Pierce Brosnan, who's just a head,
Yeah.
but she's a little dog. I don't know. That to me was hilarious, and it's just done in a way that's not like even now it wasn't like that. It just looks stupid. Like it just looked
Well,
funny.
yeah, I mean, it all kind of looks supposed to look goofy,
Right.
You know? And I think it all fits the tone of the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really, everyone like in the movie really knows what they're doing. Like,
Right.
everyone knows what movie they're in, and even like Pierce Brosnan, who's like, he's of course like the handsome scientist, so you'd always see in these kind of movies. Even kind of looks like him.
He's
like
the one that wanted everybody to hold back.
Yeah, and like should have listened to Rod Steiger. Yeah, I mean, I think it really captures that genre from the 50s.
Did you
The only
guys?
thing that could have made it better was like a giant ant somewhere.
Yeah,
Some sort of giant insect would have been awesome.
that would have been good.
Did you know that the Mars Attacks trading cards were like? There was such a huge outcry from parents. They were pulled from the shelves like after a couple of months.
Yeah.
I didn't, but that doesn't surprise me.
Like
Well, it's
because they
probably,
were
like-
considered to be violent and
It's probably like post Wortham, where they in the 50s, the Seduction of the Innocent book, Frederick Wortham
yeah.
published, and was like, comic books are the cause of juvenile delinquency. And so they probably got lumped in with comics.
Yeah,
Because I think there was
that's
a
how we got the
comic book.
comics code. That's and things like parental advisory being put on comic books, and also like and then later music and CDs and stuff.
Yeah. Censorship. That's going to lead
censorship.
us into Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
Fascism.
I mean, fascism.
Here we come.
Just going back real quick to the Martian girl, the woman.
Yeah, Lisa Marie, the actress.
Yeah. So I was reading that they wanted to make it as smooth as possible, that costume, which it is. It's like tight to the body type thing and very smooth. It had no zippers or buttons, and she had to be sewn into it every day. Like, that is some work.
Yeah, so she.
But it looks great though.
I can't imagine what her makeup call for the morning. She probably got there at like 2 or 3 in the morning. Was in the seat for like getting. Because she had to do the hair, the makeup, like
Right.
and get sewn into that thing. She was probably in there for like 4, 5, 6 hours.
I don't know what this was supposed to be, but I think it's just an IMDb error. But under Cameo, it says, as one of the Easter Islanders. Doesn't say who. I don't even know if it's related to the movie, actually.
Well, there's like the Easter. They use they're bowling the Easter
Yeah,
Island.
that's what I was going to say. There were so many good scenes about that too.
Yeah.
Like when they start blowing up the world, you have they bowl for Easter Island. Then at the Washington Monument, there's a pack of Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
And they come and they zap it, so it's falling towards them, but the Boy Scouts run across the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So they use their UFO to kind of push
Nudge
it
it
and
back.
try to, and it goes on for like 1 or 2 times where the Boy Scouts are running and they're trying to knock it over onto the Boy Scouts. I just thought all that was funny too,
It's
the
very
way they
clever.
did stuff.
It's just like clear, like everyone was just hamming it up and having fun.
Right.
Imagine if you even for the VFX artist too, it was just kind of fun to just there's nothing you couldn't do.
Right.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have any slow parts or anything. Like there's always something happening.
And it's not like overlong. Like,
Yeah,
it's a lot of fun.
it was a good pick by me. That's
It
what
was
what
a
we're
good
getting to
pick.
here.
I feel like the special effects hold up so well because it's like a mixture of like practical and like some digital,
Yeah, and I think
Just
that
enough.
some of them are just supposed to be ridiculous.
and it's supposed to be kind
So
of
the fact that they're supposed to be a little ridiculous, that still holds up. They are still a little ridiculous. But I mean, even just the aliens when their heads explode, like that green goo that goes everywhere and all that. I don't know, just fun exploding heads.
So I'm reading it's pretty cool. Like so originally Burton wanted the aliens, the Martians, to be stop motion animated
Oh,
to like mimic that style.
yeah,
But it was too costly and they just going CG was cheaper.
yeah.
But it says ILM did make the CGI purposely look a little cheap and fake per Burton's request.
Yeah.
Although he did decide against animating the Martians without motion blur, which would have made them look stop motiony. I think it would have been cool to do that.
The models that they made for the
Yeah.
original stop motion are super neat. Look, check them
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
How
That is
cool
cool.
are those?
I remember action figures too, like the Martian
Yeah.
action figures when the movie came out.
Oh, for sure. And I mean that alien, it just has such a good look and the big brain.
Yeah.
And I mean, that alien from Mars Attacks. Like,
Yeah. It's
They're just so cute. It's like they're evil, like definitely, right? They're destroying the
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah.
But it's like there's something about them that's like precious and kind of likable rather than
Right.
like. And I think that is what Burton. I feel like Tim Burton makes a lot of likable, creepy things
Mm-hmm.
that appealed to children on that level. And I think the Mars Attacks Aliens are another one of those where you're just like, I mean, think about definitely something that gives some kids nightmares, but Mr. Oogie Boogie, which is not actually
yeah.
Tim Burton, but he was involved in the
Like, he
character
produced it
design
and
and
wrote it.
produced it and stuff. He didn't actually direct it. That's a silly looking villain, but it's fun.
Right.
And kids like it, or obviously Edward from Edward Scissorhands is not a villain, but it's also like, that's a little bit ridiculous, and
Yeah.
but it's still kind of spooky. See that spooky vibe, but the good, funny, spooky vibe. I like that.
Yeah, he had a good talent there, like in the 90s, especially for making like offbeat fairy tale fantasy films,
Right.
especially with Edward Scissorhands, kind of emotionally resonant.
Yeah,
That's a great one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
it's a fun one.
I love
like that.
Beetlejuice too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, his run there in the 80s and 90s was really strong.
Yeah. Which I guess they're going to do Beetlejuice 2 finally.
God,
I don't know exactly how I feel about it.
let's just stop.
I know, but part of me is kind of interested.
I'm not. I don't want to see Michael Keaton
Yeah,
slumming it doing Beetlejuice.
I guess that's true too.
I mean, I get like I'm happy for him. It's a big payday,
Yeah,
but at the same time, like it's cool. I'm excited to see him back as Batman because it's like they're playing into like, oh, it's older Batman, whatever. But I don't know. I think everything we needed to say about Beetlejuice was said.
yeah, that's the thing. I don't know where you're going
like-
with it, but I'm not exactly 100% against it. So
Yeah.
So for years, probably until I was like 20 something, I hadn't actually seen Beetlejuice. I had only
Really?
seen the banana song
Oh
part
yeah.
of it. And
I mean,
was
that's a
like,
good part.
I mean, and I was like, so people would be like, have you seen Beetlejuice? I'd be like, I don't know. They'd be like, it has the banana. Yeah. And I'd be like, yeah, I've definitely seen that. But like,
Such a good scene.
so it took
Yes.
forever. And
Oh,
then,
movie's
then
fantastic.
people
Oh,
would
it
talk
is.
about other parts. I was like, man. So eventually I was like, I guess I need to watch this because I don't. And I was like, I've definitely never seen this movie.
yeah.
It's so creative.
But it was great. Like,
That Beetlejuice was one of my most failed costumes I've ever done for Halloween. A friend of mine and I decided to do gender swapped Beetlejuice. So she was
Were you
Beetlejuice
Lydia?
and I was Lydia.
Oh my god.
And
That's horrifying.
So what I did was I went with like all black. I had a camera. I had like the Book of the Dead in my pocket. And I needed she always wore like a big hat. So I needed a big hat. The only one I could find was at Spirit Halloween. It was a black hat, whatever. I wore it kind of like tilted like she did. I thought we looked great.
no one got it.
Any pictures?
Everybody thought I was from some Amish movie or like it was an Amish
Children of the
TV
Corn?
show that was on. No, but something like that. It was Amish Mafia, I think was the name of the show or whatever.
What?
So I just rolled with it. So it turned out I was not Lydia anymore.
I need pictures.
Yeah, I'll have to find
Couldn't
some.
do the spiky bangs, so that really would have sold it. I feel like.
I had also just shaved my head
Oh yeah, that doesn't. Yeah.
for some reason. So no,
Yeah,
I
Lydia
couldn't.
doesn't really have like a costume.
Yeah, it was hard. So I did like all black with I did a suit jacket because in one part she's wearing like suit jackets.
Yeah.
And, I had a camera. She was always with
Yeah.
a camera. I had the Book of the Dead. Like I thought I had enough descriptors and
Well, especially if you're standing next to someone dressed as Beetlejuice.
yeah, which
You would
she
think.
did. She had a black and white striped dress and
Yeah.
then she like did
Did
green in her
makeup.
hair and did her makeup. And I was like, I think we were going for like a little bit of an abstract kind of version of it.
Yeah.
But I thought it definitely came through. 100% did not work out. But with Mars Attacks, the one thing I was going to say earlier is I also enjoyed as a kid when the video game, I think it's Destroy All Humans came out,
Oh yeah.
because in my mind, it was Mars Attacks,
I mean, yeah.
but as a video game. I mean, and it basically was.
I feel like there was a Mars Attacks video game. Maybe I'm just imagining this.
See, I thought there was too, but I think it's that Destroy All Humans.
Let's see.
Maybe so.
This what
Unless
this
there
is what the
was.
internet is for.
I think there was.
Because, like, in my head, I had played a Mars Attacks game.
Yeah. Because I know they were like 96, like they were really pumping money into
Mm-hmm.
like licensing for the film. Like there's action figures, there's a novelization and comics and
Yeah, there was all kinds of stuff for it.
It looks like nope,
there wasn't.
there was not.
It was just
Okay.
Destroy
There
All
was a-
Humans.
10-minute takedown action game. But it's That's like a board game.
Oh, okay.
Well, okay.
So you were probably, but to be fair, Destroy All Humans looks remarkably similar to the Mars Attacks.
Yeah,
guy. It
I
has
mean,
very
you're like
similar
they do,
visuals
and then you're using a little laser to put like cows on fire, and
yeah.
kind of the same thing.
Definitely.
But I remember loving that because I felt like I was playing the movie.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it holds up really well.
Yeah, I think overall, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed going back and watching it. Like I said, I hadn't seen it since all the way through since a kid. And it was just fun, man. It was just so much fun.
Yeah, it really is. I think I've enjoyed it most this last time. I've probably seen it like 10 times.
Yeah.
So good job. You picked the best movie you've picked, I think, so far. It's one I've seen a lot. But
Yeah, I mean,
but no, I mean, I think
I almost
enjoyed
agree
it
with that.
more.
It might be one of the best ones.
I think it's
I had a lot of fun.
it's aged very well.
It has.
And I enjoy it more now maybe than I did when it came out.
Yeah.
Because, I've seen those movies now. I hadn't seen a lot of those 50s. Kind of,
Right.
I mean, we used to watch like Mystery Science Theater when I was a kid, so we'd see him, that kind of stuff on there. But no, I really enjoyed it. It's a great movie.
Sometimes I pick good stuff.
We're all in agreement.
Okay.
Mars
So,
Mars Attacks was great.
yeah.
Good
It
times.
was a
Good times with the aliens.
It's not on anything for streaming, but you can borrow it here at the library.
We do have
Very
it on
true.
DVD.
We do have
Have
it.
it on DVD. It's PG-13. It's not a terrible one to watch with kids.
No, it's
They're
really
13.
goofy.
Like, it's very goofy and
It's not.
sweet.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show you, like, this was like almost an R-rated movie. Which is just like, it's so goofy, people.
Right.
Like the MPA is dumb.
We know.
Yeah.
I'm just getting worked up for my Starship Troopers.
Well, yeah, because that's going to come up, right? Like,
Well, I guess then let's just go ahead. We'll wrap it up for Mars Attacks. And I think the wrap up is it's a fun movie. It's definitely space related.
Bring the kids.
Yeah. Gather the family and watch some aliens.
And then stay for Starship Troopers.
That's right.
Everyone will have fun.
I feel like
So we'll jump into some information from the library, and then we'll come back and talk about Starship Troopers.
Toby here with the adult services announcements for the library. We have a whole bunch going on because it's June and summer reading is upon us. So if you've not signed up for our summer library program or summer reading program, come on by the library and sign up for that. But for events this month, obviously, if you're listening to this, it is the 1st, and we've released a new episode of the Real Opposites podcast. Our next episode is going to come out June 15th. Now, June 2nd, we have our first meeting of the Cryptid Coloring Club that will have 2 meetings this summer. But this first one, just come on by. We have coloring sheets. This is an adult program, but just come by, relax, and color with us and enjoy some cryptid fun facts. Then on Monday, June 5th, we have our first welcome meeting for our book club. If you want to participate in the book club this summer, you need to come to the welcome meeting. We will have snacks and tea, and we will be meeting the 5th at 6 p.m. Then Friday, June 9th, we will have our whimsical watercolors with Joanne Jacobs starting at 5 p.m. Saturday, June 10th, we will have the South Charleston Interpretive Center tours at 11 and 1:30. So come on by the library and then we'll send you across to the Interpretive Center for your tour. Closed for Juneteenth and West Virginia Day. But the first day back, June 21st, our Bigfoot researchers are coming in. So we will have In the Shadow of the Big Red Eye with producer and lead investigator Mike Familiot at 7 p.m. here at the library. And then the last thing that we have in June is on the 26th, we will have our first book reading meeting of the book club, where we will be discussing The Devil All the Time. But remember, if you want to participate in book club, we do need you to come to that meeting on the 5th. All right, I'm going to pass it on over to Kendall, where she will have lots of announcements about youth and what they're doing this summer in outer space.
Hey everyone, Kendall here, and we are so excited to be going out of this world this summer for our reading program entitled the SCPL Reading Rocket. So starting Starting next week on Tuesday the 6th, we'll start having weekly programs for different age groups every week. Tuesday is for school-age kids, so these are kindergartners through 5th graders, and we have programs at 10:30 and again at 6:30. And these are identical programs, but we just want to offer them at different times of the day for different family schedules. We have our teen program starting on Wednesday, June the 7th. That runs from 3 to 5 p.m. and is open to teens in grades 6 through 12. And then on Thursdays, starting Thursday, June 8th, we have our early literacy program. So this is perfect for kiddos from birth through age 4 or 5, perfect for toddlers, preschoolers, and those programs will be at 10:30 and again at 3:30. So like I said, those will be every week during the summer on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, with a few exceptions. As Toby mentioned, the library is closed on June 19th for Juneteenth, and then again on June 20th in honor of West Virginia Day. So that week we will not be having regular programs, but instead, on that Friday, June the 23rd, starting at 3, we're going to show the movie WALL-E, a personal favorite, and we'll also have some crafts that kids can work on, popcorn and juice, and that'll also be an opportunity for kids to bring in recycled robots, which would be robots they've made out of materials they found around the house to add to our robot display. So that is a quick overview of all of our youth programs for the month of June, but if you are interested, I strongly encourage you to check out our Facebook page and or our website for more details, or you can pick up a hard copy of the calendar here at the SCPL circulation desk. But without further ado, I'll pass it back to Miss Toby. Thanks so much for listening.
All right, guys, and we're going to send you back to the show.
All right, so we're back from those messages from the library, and we're going to go ahead and jump straight into Starship Troopers. So Josh, tell us about Starship Troopers a little bit and why you chose it.
Well, Starship Troopers came out in 1997, directed by Paul Verhoeven, who also directed RoboCop.
Right.
Also, same writer, Ed Neumeier, who also he plays the guy that's sentenced to death like in 3 seconds. That's him, the writer.
That's cool.
And they both are. I think Starship Troopers is definitely like the spiritual sequel to RoboCop. It has that same sense of humor, same pretty much worldview. It maybe even further. I feel like it's like same universe almost. It just takes place a few hundred years in the future,
Right.
where we've gone full fascist. I love how even the opening titles are just very like white on black. It almost looks like the start of a Riefenstahl propaganda film from the Nazis. And I love how it is this big. There will never be a movie made like this ever again. Big $100 million production with special effects that look amazing still today. Like they still hold up. And I'll put them up against just about anything. And it's all like a joke on every so it's like we're gonna put giant bugs, lots of violence, lots of nudity, and we're gonna attract all the teenage boys to see this movie, just like a real propaganda film would have.
Right.
And then we're going to put Doogie Howser in a Nazi uniform at the end. And they're going to be like, what? If they get it. And it's like, it's totally just playing on our expectations of a summer action movie. And like, what do these very violent films say about us as a culture that we spend hundreds of millions of dollars on these films?
Right.
And what are we telling people? And there's definitely like, I think the theme of the movie more or less is like war makes us all fascists. And I love how if you notice, all the adults in the film are disabled or missing limbs, except for maybe Clancy Brown, who's the drill sergeant.
Well, the only way to be a citizen is
to have military,
is to have served in the military and start in the Starship Troopers universe, and they're fighting a war against giant alien bugs.
So it's like a great way to visualize that, and like all the youth are like intentionally, they look like they could have stepped out of Melrose Place or Party of Five or whatever, like very chiseled and perfect and gleaming. But it's also kind of fun because like I mean they're fascists. But for instance, like there's also no sexism, and there's no they shower together. There's no like for something that typically gets not looked at too much in the movie is that the women like Dina Myers and Denise Richards are very smart and competent, and they do and they have goals, and they're like, you know, she, like Denise Richards is, you know, she's like, I'm goal oriented. I'm not going to be with you. I'm focused on my career.
Right.
You know, and it's like, they talk about how Paul Verhoeven talks about how that is like the minute she did that, like the audience was like, kill her. We can't have smart women in this movie who want to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But and also, I mean, in a way, it's very much a throwback to like those, like, you know, like World War II people were signing up when he signs up because of her, because he wants the girl, and like that's how he gets the girl, because he's like, I'm signing up for the military, and immediately she's like, my dad's not home.
Yeah.
It's like, that's how it works, you know, in this society. So I think it definitely shows his view of the world, because he grew up as a child in oh my God, Holland?
Netherlands.
Is that where he's from?
He is born in Amsterdam. Yes. He's from the Netherlands. Well, I mean, he was born in Amsterdam. People in the Netherlands are Dutch. It's interesting that in Starship Troopers, I'll put this in there, that like the way women are displayed like pretty equal, because it's not exactly the same. Well, obviously Verhoeven's taken, but even in the book, I have read Starship Troopers. I will say, like, the author is definitely like a known fashion, but his depictions of women in Starship Troopers are very equal, whereas his depictions in Stranger on a Strange Land, he does have women in high-powered positions, but sexism is definitely alive and well. Because like Stranger on a Strange Land is based in like more modern times and stuff. Yeah. But I mean, blind patriotism was easy in the 50s. And that's when he was writing. Like it was, you know, I think.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of like that, like people, like, you know, look at the Red Scare and people accusing who's, you know, there's a lot of this paranoia
and fear.
And I think a lot of that fascism comes into play there. But Verhoeven, when he was a kid, he lived in the family moved to The Hague, German headquarters in the Netherlands. So he kind of had a front row seat to like a lot of violence. So his view on violence was you see in RoboCop and Showgirls. Sex and violence is it is what it is. You know?
Right.
Like it's violent. People like, this is what a mangled body looks like. And it's like, but it's also still has this cartoonish sensibility, you know, like Starship Troopers and RoboCop. But some of it's still hard to watch. Like when in RoboCop, when Murphy gets killed, he's like crucified more or less and has his arm blown off and everything. But I like how he plays with so many different things. Like the movie was more or less written kind of on its own. They were like, we can get the rights to Starship Troopers, so they kind of molded it around that, and then it kind of made it a parody of itself of the book. Because if the movie was made straight, it would just like look like, you know, a propaganda film,
right?
For the most part, it wouldn't have that kind of biting satire or sense of humor. So yeah, I love Starship Troopers. When it came out, I was the right age that they were wanting. Like I was 14, 15. So I was just like, yeah, bugs and girls, and you know, give me more of this. This is awesome. I watched it twice. I got the VHS tape. I've watched it back to back. But then I was just like, it's like, yeah, he's in a Nazi uniform. This is weird. And then as you watch it more and more, it's like, oh yeah. Each time, it's just it never gets old, and it's still every time I watch it, it just works on so many levels. It does work as an action film. Like it's exciting, and the special effects are amazing, and it works as a comedy, and it works as a satire, and it's just, I just love it. I had to bleep myself there.
They do such a great, I think that's one thing that's brilliant, is it does such a great job of being fun and good, and like you get it, like you totally get where their brains are. Like Buenos Aires gets blown up, launches you straight in, like you get, and they're like, you get why Johnny Rico does why he does. You see the propaganda they're being fed, and you're like, yeah, that's right, you know, like you're with them, and that's the power of it. Yeah,
that's what like there are essential truths. Like it's a satire, but there are essential truths about human behavior that are in his films, and that resonate, and they always will, because human beings kind of define themselves by violence and war.
Right.
That like, or by creating an enemy. Like the bugs are like millions of light years away in some other system. They don't have spaceships. We started this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's like somebody, I think even the news reporters, like he mentions that, and it's like, so we would just like, I don't know, there's no war. We got to find some war.
Yeah.
Let's go to the the bug planet. Aaron, what do you have to say?
Huh?
I'm sorry. Yeah, what do you have?
Did you like the movie?
We do.
Oh, did you want me to be on this podcast? I'm sorry. I was so
Absolutely
confused. No, I'm teasing.
Only if you like Starship Troopers. Otherwise, you can get out.
So, this movie, I actually really enjoyed it.
Yay!
I think the storyline is good. Like it was interesting. It does have all the satire. I mean, it has good. I like how violent it is.
Oh yeah, good
It
depths.
has a good.
It has a good violence.
Should put that on the poster. It has good.
It has
good.
good. It has good violence.
Yes, the gore and the violence.
Yeah, the gore and the violence is great, but it also makes sense in the movie.
Yeah.
The nudity makes sense. There's tons of nudity, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's like it's not really like sexualized, nudity,
Right.
really. It's just like they're showering together,
Right.
And what's funny little story is they were fully nude in that shower scene, like nothing on, and some of them were like, I don't know, just to kind of break the tension. Paul Verhoeven and Ed Newmeyer were like, "We'll go nude too," and so they did.
Oh my God.
And everyone else is just like, "We're good. Put your clothes on."
They're like, just make everyone comfortable. Everybody will be naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. That is hilarious.
Yeah,
Though.
he's great. I love Paul. He's like 80 now, and he still has like the energy of like a madman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I like him too because I mean,
You've liked all three of it.
Yeah, I 100% thoroughly enjoyed this, and I know you weren't happy when I told you that I watched this on my phone.
I know.
But you know, in my memory, it's almost as if I watched it on a big screen. Like
Okay.
I paid the most attention to this movie that I've paid to a movie.
Because you couldn't use your phone.
Well, because I could. Well, I watched it the other day when I was sick, so I was also in bed, so I couldn't do anything. So I was in bed, couldn't use my phone, but it also just grabbed my attention so much that I mean, I just watched this movie.
Whatever works, man.
I know. I can't help it that they took my Netflix away because I was using somebody else's.
You're not going to pay them $8 a month.
I will, but I didn't feel like setting it up because I'd had to go get my card.
What'd you watch it on?
Netflix on my phone.
Oh,
It still lets me watch it on my phone.
yeah, because you can still do mobile.
Yeah.
It's just if you're watching it on your
I couldn't
your
use it on
TV.
my TV.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I was fully invested in this movie. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, you had the love little story, but it was all funny too at the same time. Like,
It's not.
it's nothing real serious. I don't know. The satire in it and the whole he goes for a girl and his dad's telling him like that's dumb, go to college instead. And then he ends up becoming like the highest rank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, because he works his way up, and when he starts out, he's just a surfer boy, kind of not surfer, but
Yeah, but he's a bro.
like a Cali boy,
Yeah,
bro,
yeah.
and he turns into this like hard soldier by the end, and I don't know. I think it's funny. I think it's all done really well.
yeah.
The storyline is there. That's what I'm talking about with him.
Yeah.
You know, transitioning into a different person, and it's all there, but it's just done so well and so funny, like RoboCop was.
Yeah, I mean, it works like I said, like it works on different levels. Like if you're just kind of like going for a fun action movie, it's there.
Right.
If you don't notice that they're calling you a Nazi,
Right.
and if you're really looking for more, like there's a lot there to chew on.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's kind of like, and I've said this, I think I said it about They Live. It's the kind of, it's there and you can overlook it if you want,
Yeah.
but it's also so there that you don't have to look deep
Yeah.
either.
I mean,
It's not.
no matter what you're saying, a movie still needs to be engaging and entertaining.
Right.
So you can, I don't really like message movies, but like if you're making a message movie, you're making something you're really wanting to say something about society or whatever, you still have to make a entertaining film that
Right.
draws me in, is funny or horrific or whatever. It still has to work as a movie. And I think his works so well on so many levels. And like the one image I keep thinking about when I think about Starship Troopers isn't any of the bugs or any like the violence or really anything else. It's one during one of the little interstitials, like the little commercials, and it's of these kids that are just stomping the bugs.
Oh, yeah.
Cockroaches.
And then playing with the guns.
Yeah, well, that's great too. I love that part, like gun control. Here's just take this giant
Yeah.
automatic weapon this is fine for a 6-year-old. But it's like when the kids are like stomping the cockroaches, the mom is just laughing maniacally.
Right. Yeah.
That is Starship Troopers. That's Starship Troopers for me. Just kids killing bugs and the adults laughing maniacally.
Yeah, and I love those little breaks of like the news reports.
Oh,
and it was
yeah.
like, you want to know more, and they are all so ridiculous and so and definitely propaganda.
Yeah.
But it also, man, it makes you. It kind of makes you think like we're not far from that.
No, we're
No,
not. That's the
absolutely
joke.
not.
Is like
It's still that.
It's like more and more every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't watch cable TV, but when I do happen to do it, and I see commercials, I'm like, am I in RoboCop,
Right.
Where am I?
Starship Troopers, or like what is this?
Yeah.
Or They Live or something. I'm just like, this is really weird. I feel like I've entered an alternate universe
Right.
because that kind of stuff. I don't know.
We
Like
found our way into the darkest timeline.
Yeah, I don't
Like-
know. And I'm just like, man, he was way ahead of it.
Yeah.
That Starship Troopers.
Well, I think
But really? Because I feel like we just have repeated this.
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
I don't know with the as far as the social type of things. I don't know that he was so much ahead of it in the fact that it's just sad that it's still going on.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's
like we just haven't progressed.
I mean, he was looking back to the World War II era for
Right.
the most
Yeah.
part. Like, so I mean, because this is like pre-Iraq, pre-9/11, and
Right.
everything. So it's a funny time to put this movie out.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't think it would have been greenlit post 9/11, something
No.
like this.
Yeah,
Because it's
probably
like,
not.
because I mean, 90s were it's relatively peaceful time
Yeah.
for America. Like, there's a lot
very
of prosperity, and
Right.
there wasn't a war going on.
Yeah, it was the
For the
perfect
most
time
part,
for
you
it.
know.
well. There was, but it was a.
It was a
there
very
were,
short.
There were proxy wars, is what it
Right.
was. But that therein lies the danger of the way that so the way that Europe educate, and I think that's part of where Verhoeven's the way that he tells things kind of comes from is the way that they educate about things like the rise of Nazism is a very it is well known. It's also very no nonsense and very much addresses that these people existed, but we don't honor them because they were horrible people.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're very clear about that. Whereas,
Well,
not so much.
and they-
We don't get as much as that anymore. And the our versions of history, it's important that we learn from history so that we're not why are we repeating ourselves?
Well,
right.
Here's
history's
the
written-
But
reason.
we still keep doing
history's
it.
written by those in power.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
But I like that. Like he doesn't. I think movies like this are really essential because they show that anybody can become a fascist.
Mhm.
Right.
There's a pattern to
Right.
all this.
Yeah.
And he's just a kid that likes a girl,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, there's who knows how many of those happen,
Right.
and then becomes a Nazi. I mean, how
Yeah.
many times has that happened to you?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
I mean, But I mean, it's
But I mean-
it's yeah. There's an essential truth there.
And I think that carries through the whole movie in the fact that you're seeing that there's this propaganda and they're being led to believe, and I think you touched on it earlier, Toby, but basically the fact that it's also believable, you can see why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how they get radicalized. I mean,
Yeah.
the same thing happened at Pearl Harbor or 9/11. It's
Right.
just there's a big incident, people signing up for the military just skyrockets. 'Cause
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
they killed it, they hurt us.
When they could have just been left on their own planet.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is, that's the thing that's just so funny. It's just there's not even any reason.
But is it that I mean, that's the thing, and not that obviously no acts of violence are justified, but it's the thing of they don't know that. The soldiers that they're recruiting don't know that where it started.
No, they're just
No,
dumb kids.
they're just
that's
dumb
what, I mean,
kids.
that's what they do.
They're
They
being
recruit.
given guns.
Well, they
to play with.
recruit kids that don't know any better.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's how
Everything
that's how
does.
military works. You
Right.
recruit kids that, I mean, they're largely poor, not
Mm-hmm.
terribly well educated. That's the whole point. Like they did the draft from Vietnam. It's if you were in college, you were fine.
Right.
You didn't have to go.
They didn't draft
If you were poor,
That's who went.
get in line. You're gonna get shot.
Well, and that's I mean, if you think about even tying out, you said, this one came out after 9/11, and saying, oh, we weren't at war in the night, I mean, we kind of were. Like we were definitely had a presence over in the Middle East protecting like oil interest and things like that.
You mean,
And 9/11? Well, yeah, we were at
Well, I
war.
mean, prior to 9/11.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but it
like
wasn't
in
like
the- the 80s and 90s, we were involved.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it
like-
wasn't like a full scale like.
Yeah.
There wasn't a Pearl Harbor or 9/11.
there wasn't
like,
a
really
specific event that
to
was
radicalize into
Right.
a large scale military operation. I mean, there was
Right.
Gulf War in the early 90s, but that was kind of over. And
You know what one of my favorite scenes what one of my favorite scenes were?
what?
I love when they're at boot camp the first time and that guy's like, I'll fight you, and then he just breaks his arm.
Yeah.
I love that. And I love that every time something happens, they just go, medic,
Medic.
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 I love that as long as it's not too terrible wound, they can just put you in a back to tank and fix you.
Right.
I love Clancy Brown, who's the drill sergeant.
Mhm.
He was in Shawshank. He's a prison
Okay.
guard. He's the Kurgan in Highlander, and Michael Ironside, who's Radcheck,
Mhm.
the guy who's the teacher at the start, who's violence is supreme power.
Yeah.
And he's later he's in the war as the general. I love those two guys.
Yeah.
They are so much fun to watch.
And I love how Rico becomes him, basically.
Yeah. And I love the death scene is so I don't know.
Oh, when he has to shoot him.
Yeah, it's a great.
He's like, Rico.
It's so cheesy and like it's
Or whatever he
it's
calls
how
him.
it's supposed to be. It's just so
Yeah.
like
And I don't know. I feel like this movie's done so well because in a way it's also like touches you a little bit.
It
This
does.
movie does. But at the same time, like while you're laughing.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it does it perfectly. There's enough where you're like, man, that he liked him. He respected
Well, yeah,
him.
I like Michael Ironside.
Sucks
in
that he
every
has to
movie.
shoot him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just funny. Everything
It
else
is.
is going on, and it's funny.
Well, there was a real tenderness between the actor that played Johnny Rico and Michael Ironside. It's like he says later in his career, Michael Ironside was one of his mentors, and he says, I still hear his voice in everything when I'm acting to this day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So he's like, him and Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
But because that was Casper Van Dien's like one of his early roles,
This is
and
like
he's
his
like
first
very
big
much.
movie. Pretty much his only big movie. Because he kind of did this, so like it wasn't like for such an expensive movie, it didn't make enough money.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think he kind of was that kind of like California dude
Mm-hmm.
a little bit too much. Like
Yeah.
the movie kind of flew over people's heads to a certain degree, and he was like, oh, he's just kind of this dumb, like handsome, but you can't really cast him as much else.
Yeah.
So he kind of got stuck in that role. I will say, I think he's in like the second. Don't watch any of the sequels.
I was reading about those.
No, they're like all direct to video.
He's in the. Are we talking about Rico?
Yeah.
He's in the third.
He's in the third.
second has
okay.
no returning characters.
Yeah, 'cause that's what I want to watch.
Yeah.
I think there was an animated show that's supposed to be pretty good, but I never watched it.
Yeah,
It's just
that-
this is also
Came
just
after
like
3.
it's just like one of those like I don't need more.
Yeah.
The movie's perfect. I just want to watch Starship Troopers again. Yeah, this movie never gets old for me.
Well, I like that it had a body count of 256.
That's a high one.
Well, that's just like there's like 40
That-
million
yeah.
in Buenos Aires that
Yeah.
Well, that's true, I guess.
the bugs won.
Yeah. But I tell you, like, we were talking about the special effects.
Yeah.
The special effects on this they were great.
They're amazing.
They're fine, yeah.
You see these bodies ripped apart when they
Yeah.
go into like the places where the bugs have already infiltrated
Yeah.
and already killed the people there.
Yeah.
I mean, bodies ripped apart. You have the
Well, I mean, and a lot of that is like him recalling stuff from World War II. Just seeing like he's not wholly like
Right.
this is what happens when a body is ripped apart by
like
a
this
giant
is what
bug.
it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, that's what made
RoboCop.
no.
Crossroads?
He's a famous special effects artist. He worked on
Bottin?
Friday the 13th.
Tom Savini.
Yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
what
'cause
Tom
he was-
Savini's
he was,
stuff's so good is that he was in war. Like,
Right.
He was a combat photographer, I think,
Yeah.
in war. So he in
Saw it.
Vietnam. So he saw it. Yeah, he
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah.
And so like when he did, especially like Day of the Dead and stuff like his,
Mhm.
that looks like a body getting ripped up.
Right.
Like it's anatomically looks right
Yeah.
because he saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and that's what I thought about this movie with their special effects and everything. I don't know, it was just good.
It's so funny and awesome and
It
fun,
is.
and, like
It was a really good movie.
relevant and yeah, I mean like some of the stuff like the giant bug that they take down, like it's all digital. And
Mhm.
it still looks
Yeah.
amazing and like that's a digital That's a digital Casper Van Dien on top of it too.
Well,
Like,
they use like a matte.
Oh,
They use
yeah, I
I
matte
didn't know that.
CGI, and like what's neat is they don't. I mean, they don't hide behind anything. Like usually, if a movie's going to use CG, they use shadows
well, yeah,
to
and
kind of
like
hide
in,
it.
like Jurassic Park, like the T-Rex attacks at night, so it's
Yeah.
easier to kind of hide some of the imperfections in the CG. But this is like broad daylight.
They were just like, let's blast some light on it.
Yeah.
We'll make it work, and they
it's-
do. It's
and
great.
It's
Yeah, it's done
it's
well.
really incredible. Like 26 years later, it still looks.
Yeah.
Great.
I still don't know. I don't know how they do it, but the pass through when Dizzy is killed and the like where it goes
Like where it comes
punches
through
through
her?
her
Yeah.
and like two
It
or
looks
three times,
amazing.
and it's fast and it
Mhm.
looks great. Like
There's a few times
I don't
where one of the bugs punches through somebody, and
Yeah.
it does. It looks good.
Like,
yeah,
I can-
they just there was just a lot of attention
Mhm.
given to like they probably had because I know that shot's in slow motion because I can see that I've
Yeah.
seen this movie so many times I can see the shot. They probably have some sort of a not a squib, but they're pulling that off and they're having to animate, and they probably have some like little dots on there to animate, to give tracking information to
Right there,
animate
yeah.
the tentacle or whatever.
Yeah.
coming, not the tentacle,
Or
but the arm or leg or whatever.
Whatever it is on that bug.
Yeah, coming through her.
that's such a great like weapon. You know, like it's like you can. I feel like you can feel that.
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
the,
and
like
it's like.
punch of it going through people. Like
And that little
yeah.
sequence is just like because Verhoeven, like he typically is called like is a very visceral director, and like he knows when to really show the violence and when to cut and when to use slow motion because like it really during that little shot really shows it's like like you can really see it and feel it.
Yeah.
You know, Cameron does that really well using slow motion to make it kind of like really heighten a moment, like in Terminator.
Yeah.
You know, like the tech noir thing, like where he's stalking them in the club and it's like slow motion and she like kind of this dreamy thing.
Right. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I love all of it. I love the propaganda in it, how it's also so real. It's a fun movie, but to be that fun, I feel like it's rare that we get a fun movie and that also has a good storyline, that also moves along pretty well.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like the perfect package for, and like you said, if you just want a dumb action movie, that's there. If you want satire, it's definitely there. If you want violence, 100%, it's there.
Yeah.
It's just like it has everything.
it does. It's a complete experience.
And it's all like packaged up in the right way, just to create a really good movie.
I would like to like the practical bugs that they did use for some of it are amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the big animatronic bugs that they used. Were like,
usually when they're interacting with someone, it's like a practical.
yeah. And I just I don't know, it's so good. I love Starship Troopers. This is one of my favorites. I just think it's amazing. Like they do, and like bugs. I don't know. That's like it's got to be a thing because it's also Ender's Game uses bugs as well.
Yeah.
I think bugs are a really great like other proxy.
Yeah.
Where you're like, yeah, obviously, like they don't look human.
What's one of like our fears? It's like snakes. Or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Like, we're
Well,
just
that-
to a certain degree, like
yeah.
well, in history, like snakes have been like
Yeah.
evil or malicious or something. And it's like bugs are just like.
Well, and I think that plays on that is like, I mean, obviously they're intelligent. Obviously something, unlike
Oh my God, the brain bug.
Mars Attacks, where they're like, oh, well, they're intelligent, so they have to be nice. And it's like, well, but if they're intelligent, they look nothing like us, then we assume that they're
Something's
not
going on.
nice.
Right.
And like, I mean, that's the thing in Ender's Game is when he goes where he wipes out the planet and then he like the central hive mind starts talking to him.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
You've never read, you didn't have to read Ender's Game in school?
No.
I've seen the movie.
Is that just the one book?
No, there's like a whole series.
There's a whole series, but like just read the first book. Like
It's called Ender's Game?
called Ender's Game. It's a kind of a big deal.
I thought it was like one of those Suzette Collette books or something. Isn't that her name?
No,
She does
it's
like
writ-
Insurgent and Divergent.
written-
Oh,
it was written
no,
by
no.
Orson Scott Card, and
written by-
again, not a great person. Wrote a great book in 1985, and his book. It's essentially like they're children. They're being trained for war. They
Yeah.
think they're playing a video game. They think this is all a like simulation, and then you find out that
It was real.
not to spoil the end of Ender's Game, but there's a little boy called Ender. and he's
a
like
weird
the
name.
best in his class. So it's World Ender. That's kind of the pun that comes out of it, is that he stops the war before it starts by like destroying their entire homeworld and planet. And the bugs are coming for water, but like they're not as dangerous as people think that they are.
Right.
And then the rest of the story and series is him like recovering from like, I committed genocide. Like I killed a whole race and without knowing anything about them because someone told me to. And it's like, it's a really heavy take at the end of that.
Yeah.
That movie, the more recent movie's not awful.
I thought it was pretty good.
It was pretty good. Yeah. And then like his brother, who's a psychopath, becomes president, and that tracks. You know, there's a lot of great stuff in Ender's Game. But
You like Starship Troopers?
you will also
Give
like
old
Ender's
Ender's
Game.
Game a read or a watch.
And a watch, yeah. More bugs with brains.
What I was laughing at was it's like at the end when they have the brain bug
Yeah.
and they're doing like the wrap up.
And they're shoving something in its mouth.
Something in and it goes censored.
Yeah.
Oh my
Well, that's
God.
probably
Yeah.
because, and we can cut this part out.
Yeah.
But the brain bug looks like a butthole.
It does.
Yes.
And I think it's done on purpose.
Oh, yes.
And that's why it's like censored. Anyways,
we
we
don't
can
just
need
think
to
it's
cut
all-
that part out. That is the point. That's the joke.
Yeah, I
mean,
love
like,
that.
Oh, I just
Well, I love this. Like they do the censor thing at the beginning too,
yeah.
with like the bug killing a cow. It's like that's too much censor.
Yeah.
But they do a really great job up front, like past like the opening, like where you see Rico you think he's killed or something. Like introducing the bugs in the class where they're dissecting them, and then during that commercial thing, that's early in the movie. Like keeping even though we're getting the characters up, like keeping the bugs is like a thing that exists in this world that are going to come into play, and it's a
Right.
really it's exceptionally well written and funny, just like RoboCop. Like it's just Ed Newman. Like he has only really done RoboCop and Starship Troopers, but
Oh, that's sad.
I mean he did like He wrote like Starship Troopers too.
Oh.
He got mouths to feed.
Yeah.
But just for those two, he's like a legend in my mind.
Yeah. I agree. I enjoyed both of those movies. And like I said, I mean, I feel like this podcast was the one where I like thoroughly enjoyed both movies.
It's really weird.
And
Me too.
it was just like random. I mean, we were like, let's do a space one. Okay.
Real similars.
real similars.
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Similars.
Real similars. It's a much less exciting podcast, but it works in this.
I don't know. It's kind of boring. They all just like the same thing. Not really much of a discussion. They called me a Nazi too.
Also that, yeah. If you feel called out, then
If you
think
are a
about
Nazi
things.
listening to our podcast,
You're a Nazi.
stop.
Please stop.
Please stop.
Oh man.
Both things, listening to our podcast and being a Nazi, both those things. So remember how I said I feel like Starship Troopers is really, really violent for children. This is my favorite fun fact trivia. In a 2016 interview, Casper Van Dien revealed a funny incident when he was picking up his two daughters from school. I went to line to pick up my kids, drive up to the school, and I get there, and there are these 6, 10, and 8-year-old boys hanging out with my daughters. I pull up in line, and the boys go, "Johnny Rico, why didn't you tell us your dad was Johnny Rico?" And I said, "Why are you boys watching Starship Troopers?" And they said, "Our dads made us watch it with them." And then my daughters get in the car, and my 10-year-old says, "Dad, were you really naked in Starship Troopers?" And I say, "Yeah." And she goes, "How could you do this to me?" And then my 8-year-old says, "Wait, like naked? And I say, "Yep." And she goes, "Oh my God, my life is ruined." And it was the longest 3-minute ride home I've ever had in my life.
It's really cute.
Like, my life is ruined.
That's funny.
It's so cute. But also, apparently, me and those dads are in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Your children
yeah,
should see
I mean,
Starship Troopers.
Pretty much, like this
Maybe
is.
start- maybe
If this
start-
had come out, in the '80s, I would have watched it when I was
Right.
when I was 8 or 9.
maybe start with Ender's Game. It's less violent, kind
Yeah,
of.
just
They blow
throw
up
'em
a
in.
planet.
Or
You don't
Mars
really see
attack.
It's
it.
just like you learn how to swim. Just
There you go.
throw them in the deep end. They'll
That's
figure it
true.
out.
That's how you do life.
That's how you do life. Just jump all in.
Jump all in. It'll be
You're
fine.
ever wondering how to life? That's how.
That will be my first book, Paul Verhoeven's Guide to Life.
There you go.
Dissect his films, and you'll learn how to grow as a human being and get through
I mean,
obstacles.
That
Fair.
almost sounds ridiculous, but at the same time, I think there's
Kinda
a lot to
agree.
unpack
I
there.
think there is.
I think there really is.
All right.
And at least he always done it well.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the movies are great. Like
They are.
after this, he did because this kind of tanked. It didn't really do that well. It did really well on video and DVD. Like it kind of where it kind of really got its audience. He did Hollow Man after this, which is a very expensive film. Also, amazing special effects for the time. It's not a very good movie, but
Yeah.
even in that, like he's like playing with. What if the Invisible Man was a rapist?
Oh.
And it's like it's a lot of
like the new Invisible Man movie.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
yeah, more
So
much,
good.
I like
Oh
that.
yeah, it was
That was a good
fantastic.
one.
I mean, it's much more like his movie's much more like visceral,
Yeah.
not as like it's just like yep, that's who he is at the start. He gets invisible, just gets worse,
Continues to be that, yeah.
and then that was kind of his last big. He's made a lot of great movies since then, and Dutch films like Black Book and this one that came out last year. I think it was last year, Benedetta, which is about two lesbian nuns. It's a really great film. It's like, did you ever see Tropic Thunder? No. Well, there's a really
It was
funny.
like Jack Black and everybody.
Yeah, it's like there's this funny trailer for a movie about two Tobey Maguire and Robert Downey Jr. who are it's really tongue in cheek, and they're like two, or I guess they are priests. I don't know how to describe it, but it's basically like that movie. Like they made that movie for real.
Oh.
But it's a really great
Yeah.
film, and it's all about faith and like he wanted to make a biography of Jesus Christ, which I'm really sad he'll probably never get to make because boy would that really piss some people off.
Yeah.
That'd be
it makes
awesome.
People very angry.
But yeah, it's a great movie. He's made a lot of good movies since then, but that was kind of his last Hollywood film. But he had a great run.
Yeah.
L's really good.
Yeah, Elle was really good. Yeah, and he plays with subject matter that would kind of like it really pushes you and challenges you, probably even more so than in his American films. His American films are almost like satirizing American culture, especially in Showgirls.
Yeah, for sure.
But his movies since then have been more pushing the envelope in like different, more not really subtle, but like more nuanced ways, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elle's a great movie, but they're still his films. Like they're really great. He's one of my favorites. So you'll have to watch Total Recall. That'll be like the only one of his American ones you haven't seen now.
Okay.
Or Basic Instinct. Have you seen Basic Instinct?
I have not.
Okay.
I feel like Basic Instinct is definitely a different tone.
Yeah, I mean it's like a play on Hitchcock,
Yeah.
Hitchcockian kind of thrillers, and
Yeah.
Total Recall's a lot of fun. It's Arnold. Give those people air. It's hard to do it.
Basic.
Gahagan. Anyway. So yeah, we both love Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I mean, I did. I just think it has everything that you need for a good movie.
Yep.
In a consumer style, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's a
It
rollicking adventure.
yeah, it was good.
Well, I think even if you just consume Starship Troopers, you still learn, which is what's
Right.
nice. Like it's
Yeah,
not.
even
yeah.
if you don't get it at the start, like you still it's like something's like that's Doogie Howser in a Nazi uniform.
Yeah.
like it kind of will be like
It still clicks.
it still clicks to a certain degree. Also, even has a Golden Girl too.
That's
Like I
true.
was telling you.
Yeah, you said it
I
was.
can't believe you didn't notice that. See, this is the downside of watching on your phone. Everything's too small.
Well, I mean, I watched Mars Attacks and I didn't notice Jack Black, and I had specifically been looking for him.
Really, I don't know how you didn't notice Jack Black. He definitely looks like Jack Black.
I don't know how I didn't, but I mean, I could tell you his death scene
Yeah.
now that you've
It's
told me his
great.
character, but like, it's just one of those things. Sometimes I just don't notice stuff. Look, the ADHD is real. At least I watched them.
You did. I'm really happy about that.
I think we really tackled space, man. We showed what
We hit
space is.
We laughed. We cried. We went to the stars.
Yes, to fight bugs.
Killed bugs.
Bug squash.
All right. So that's Starship Troopers and Mars Attacks.
I guess so. Our next podcast is going to be another special-ish podcast. We are going to have Todd, our director, back on the podcast.
Yeah.
And we are going to...
Which means we have to watch something awful every time. Have you noticed that? Every time Todd's on, we watch bad movies.
I've enjoyed every...
Oh, they're fun, but they're not good.
Oh. Well, I don't know. So, I actually, with that episode, we are going to watch. It's kind of like another movie and documentary type thing, I think.
No, we're going to watch The Room.
Mm-hmm.
And then the biopic.
The Tommy Wiseau legendary bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also going to watch The Disaster Artist, which is the movie. It's not a documentary, even though it's based on the book about the making of the movie.
Okay.
So it's like a dramatized version of the book.
Okay.
And with James Franco and
Dave Franco.
Dave Franco, yeah.
Seth Rogen. Josh Hutcherson.
So we're going to do that. So it'll just be we need to get a cameo by Tommy Wiseau.
I bet that's doable.
You slip him $50, he'll probably do it.
We've been so successful at getting celebrities on here.
I know.
Oh, hi, Todd.
I really try, guys. I really try.
So we're going to do that.
We're going to do that.
And I believe the plan is we're all going to watch it in theaters because
big
Fathom
screen.
is doing an event for it.
Yeah,
So we're going to watch it. We're going to go to the movies and watch it, and then we're going to talk about it.
we are.
And like I said, Todd, our director, will be back on the podcast with us next time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so join us next time for the special podcast where we go to the movies and then talk about it.
Or join us at the movies, heckling The Room.
That's true. That is June 27th.
Yeah.
Regal.
Regal Nitro.
So all of our fans, I guess we'll have a fan event as well.
Don't mob us, though, okay? All 6 of you.
Yeah.
Just calm down.
Yeah. Everybody can have a signature. Just, you got to wait in line. That's all.
Yeah.
But I guess until then, I'm Aaron.
I'm Josh.
And this has been The Real Opposites.